This may be controversial, but bear with me. He said that men do not have the privilege of getting pregnant, and that's why I was laughing. But he brought another point. To an extent, male privilege does exist, especially in the workforce, because men get paid more than women. And men will do a lot of blue collar jobs and have careers that women won't do.
Well, that's the reason. Like, yes, men get paid more, but once you look at the statistics, it's where men work more hours, or men will work jobs that are, more
Right.
dangerous to get paid more. So we do get paid more that way, but if the women work the same amount of hours or work those dangerous jobs, it would equal out. It's just men and women are different. We're okay with it going out there and risking our neck to make some money. We're dumb enough to do it.
I agree
Right.
with you that it goes both ways. I think men overall have it better, to a degree, but if you look at like when I think about like privilege, I think of like systemic, like overall things, right? And I really look at like maybe like industries that are dominated by women, right? Like nursing, teaching, like things like that where they're women dominated. And because of the way the system was set up in the past, it still impacts the present. Like nurses are absolutely some of the most underpaid people on the planet. Like
Agreed.
period. Like why are they underpaid? Because historically that was a woman's dominated field where these companies and these hospitals and these doctors had the ability to discriminate against these women because it was one of the few jobs that they could get. And
Well, here's the thing
carries
about that,
forward.
though, is, I'm sure that's true from in the past, but now you have male and female nurses. You can have male and female doctors. There's nothing stopping anybody from going and being a doctor.
But do you think that like we know that wage growth doesn't like just skyrocket, right? Like when something becomes, and like nursing is still like female dominated. I think like the last time I
Right.
saw it was like 85% were women, right? And
Right.
the issue is that those historical things from the past that suppressed their wages have carried through. We can see the same thing with teachers. Like teachers are underpaid, not everywhere, but in a lot of places. Like literally my cousin was trying to talk me into taking a coaching job, because I work remotely and they're trying to talk me into moving out into the country and like, because I can live anywhere. And she's like, you could come take this coaching job. And I literally went on their job board. They're offering teachers $27,000 a year. Like, do you know how
That's
insane that is?
disgusting. Look, let me just say this. If you're not paying me $500,000, I'm not going to be a teacher anywhere.
For real. Hey, but
I'm just
look,
here to
here's the
tell you.
thing too. If more teachers said that, look, no, we're not going to teach unless we get bumped up some, it'll happen.
But it doesn't. Like it's not. Like I'm in Ohio. Like we have districts that are cutting days from their school district. Like they're only going to school 4 days a week because they don't have enough teachers instead of paying more.
Right. And I think that's ridiculous. Here, I definitely think teachers do probably need to get paid way more because they're the ones who's teaching the next generation.
You want to
But
get the best and brightest to teach, you have to pay more. Like,
oh yeah,
why do
for
we
sure, for
demand
sure.
excellence out of teachers and then pay them like they're the bottom of the barrel?
Yeah, I think that's ridiculous for sure. Uh, but I just don't. I still don't see that being a male privilege versus a female privilege for the fact that if you don't want to make that low money, don't go work for them. Look,
But it,
my cousin, she works. She's a middle school teacher, like right down the road from me. Now she went to college to be a teacher. Spent, I don't know, I think it was like 4 years. I can't remember how long she went, but so she makes a certain amount. I didn't go to college for 4 years. I work in a trade and I make more than her. So my point is, but if she wanted to come work in that trade, she very easily could, because we have entry level positions in the trade. So the point is I don't think it's a privilege one way or another. Yes, there are industries that get paid less, and maybe it was because it was women dominated. Oh, dang, I'm echoing now.
Never going. I think you're echoing.
Yeah, that's me. Hold on, stop it.
He muted. He's fine. He muted. He'll come back.
But yeah, I mean, and I'm sure it was because it was female dominated, but nobody's forcing anybody to go into a certain industry. You want to make more money, go into an industry that pays more money. That's why I don't think if it was somewhere saying you only can work in this industry, then I was like, okay, you have probably a little privilege going on. Oh, it's not that way. What are whose achievements?
But I think teachers. I think
I believe they should get paid more, though. I think they should.
The love of doing it, but I think a lot of new school teachers don't do it for the love of money. They do it for all the benefits, meaning your pension, your 401k, your all your little pension bonuses you get out, all your days off you get out. Because let's be real, teachers have about an extra day or two off every month. Sometimes you get a week or 2 or 3. I mean, 2 weeks at Christmas, 1 week at Thanksgiving, and 1 week at spring break. I mean, you get a lot of weekends and holidays off. So I think a lot of new school teachers do it for the benefits. I see the difference in teachers from when I was in school to now that my daughter is in school. And I'm here to tell you, I much prefer an old school teacher.
Yeah.
Well, I think that, sorry, I hung up and got back in to get rid of that echo. My fault, guys.
Yeah.
So, like, here's the thing. So I agree with you about the time off and the downtimes and things like that, right? There are benefits. Think about who benefits the most from making sure that they're home from when their kids are out of school. Who benefits most from when they're able to have, their nights and their weekends off, right? It's women, because still women tend to be the care provider, the dominant care provider for their children. And the issue is that's where the male privilege comes from. Again, I'm not saying it's only male privilege, because you're right. There are things that women get to do that, like, men can't do. Like, I agree with that.
Hey, so never going. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you something, because you mentioned about women being the caretaker, more of the caretakers and nurturers and things like that. So I am a stay-at-home mom. My fiance works. We got old school gender roles over here. Don't come for me. But anyway. So would you consider that, I mean, I do consider it a privilege, and I'm very thankful that I'm able to stay at home. I do. But do you consider that a privilege to an extent?
To a degree, I would give you that that's a privilege. But I would also say that that's a privilege of not just women, but it would be more for women, correct? I would agree with that. But what I would say, it's also say that it is a financial privilege, right? You don't have to work, right? There are plenty of people whose husbands don't make, or fiancés don't make enough money for that, right? Like, and I will never judge somebody for having traditional gender roles. Like, if that's what works for you and your partner and however you want to do it, go for it, man. Like, whatever floats gets for you, like 100% on board with that. Like, I have no problem with that, as long as you have the option, like, as long as that was your choice. Yeah. Like, where it becomes a problem is when you don't get to make that choice, right?
So can I speak?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Hey, Brandon. Yeah.
Hey, how y'all doing? So I'm going to say this. Women, I'm going to tell you, in my field, and I'm a married man, been married 20 years. My wife's a stay-at-home wife and wouldn't have it any other way. She feels very privileged, and she thanks God for it every day that, she gets to be with her babies, watch them grow up, be at every football game, be at every practice, be at every school recital, be at every choir practice, and I've missed all of them. So my wife definitely thinks it's a privilege. So, and I'm gladly giving it to her. Now, on the other hand, let me say this. Women 110% have way more privilege than men. And I could list the details on and on and on and on. And this is not even an argument. It's so obvious in society that women have way more privilege than men. It's not even an argument anymore.
See, Brandon,
You
that's
know,
what I struggle with because I kind of believe that as well. But in like the workforce dynamic, I don't believe that women have more privilege to an extent, far as like the wage
can I
situation.
give you
Like
an
we all know
example?
that men get
Can
paid
I,
more. But yeah,
ma'am,
I
ma'am,
actually
ma'am,
was
ma'am,
going
can
to
I
ask
give
you
you
for
an
one.
example?
I
Can I
was
give you an
actually going to ask you for
example?
one. Let's
Okay,
go.
let me
Uh-oh.
give you a great example. I'm a diesel mechanic and a welder. Okay, I
Right.
make $32 an hour. Okay, I
Hmm.
literally have a secretary that works in my office that makes $5 less than me, that has no experience whatsoever, been in the industry for 2 years, no college degree, barely a high school diploma. But because she's a female and she kisses the right tail at the right time, and because of the new laws that have come out, she gets $5 less than me. I started at $18 an hour, and it took me 15 years to get to where I'm at now. Tell me how that makes sense.
That's not a
It doesn't.
privilege of a woman, like in any way.
How is
You're
that not a privilege of a woman? If that was a
I
man,
because
she'd kill
disagree.
my
anybody
mom.
because any man could take that job. There is no law that is driving up her wage because she's a woman. That is just something you've heard.
I've
The
heard,
other
I've
part would
seen it
be
in
is
my own
your
life.
yeah, your boss is paying what he has to pay to have her work that job. Like it's going to piss you off to even more. I bill out at $380 an hour. I've been in my industry less than 5 years and I never leave my house.
You
What
must
does
be
How's
a
that
that
have
third
to
one.
fair?
do with a female?
That's my point. I'm a male and I make 10x what she makes
Great,
per hour,
great.
okay? And I'm doing that as a male. So how is her pay anything to do with her being a woman?
I'm gonna
I can
explain
tell
that to
you
you right now. Because of her looks, for one. Okay, number one, she's a beautiful
facts.
woman, and I'm being facts, man. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. But because of how she looks, how she brings in customers, and how she's the face of the company. That's what she's
Yep.
being paid for, bud. And I'm giving you facts, and you can like it, lump it, whatever. She's paid strictly off of how she looks and how many people she's going to bring through that door on a daily basis. Just
Okay,
off of
so
how she
so
Brandon,
do you
looks.
think
I can
that's not a
also piggyback
skill
off of
set?
this. No,
No, that's
because
not
I
a
can
skill
piggyback
set.
off of this.
She was born with those looks. That's
So
not an
any woman
acquired
can
skill
do that
set.
job. So it's a
Hold
Yes,
on,
privilege
sir.
for
hold on.
every woman.
Yes, sir. Any woman can walk through
Hey,
that door and
never.
be a hostess. Yes, sir.
Hey, never.
As
Let
Well,
Any
me
soon as
according
you
woman
to
explain.
can
us,
get
walk in.
any
unless
woman,
we
yes,
don't
sir.
look that
Let me
good.
explain what he's getting at.
I'm
So I
giving
was
you
a woman.
facts, brother. I'm
I
not
am
knocking
Any
hold
you.
on,
I'm
fo-
just
so
Dylan.
a
giving.
400-pound woman can come in and get the same pay?
No.
Obviously
Uh,
not.
Oh, okay. So not
Okay,
every
never,
woman
never.
can do that.
Let me
So
say
it's not a
something.
Sir,
Let me
privilege
say
but
for a
the
something.
woman.
point of the
It's a privilege
basis,
for being pretty.
sir,
Like
sir, sir,
Never.
sir. No
Listen,
man's
listen,
gonna walk.
listen,
Look,
listen.
dude, you're conflating the argument. What we're
Okay,
trying to
listen. Let
say
me let
is,
me tell y'all
no
let's
something.
let
man can
Clemson,
come in and get paid off of his looks. Do you understand? We must have a skilled
Okay,
trade.
listen. I
Fabio,
get what
but
he's
let
saying.
Clemson
Come
talk real
on, man.
quick.
I get what he's saying, and let me explain why. I was a sales rep for a cable company. I got paid very well. Why? Because I sold the hell out of cable.
Amen.
Why? Because I went to events and sold the hell out of cable. I went to events in Atlanta. I went to events in like big open advertisements and things of that nature. I got paid very well. Why? Because I brought money to the table.
That's right. Well, and you know, if you've got the looks, I'm not knocking you by no means. I'm just stating the facts. Do get it how you
Dude,
live. I
dude,
respect that, but I'm just saying
I
the
got paid
facts.
for being pretty all through college.
Well, that's awesome, brothers. Congrats to you. I'm
Yep.
just telling you,
You
most
just
men have to have a skilled labor and
most
skilled
women have to.
trade. No, brother, they don't. They can walk in clubs for free if they look right. I mean, come on, dude.
Facts.
Don't sit here and lie, dude. Come on, man. I
So
mean,
Brandon, I think he misses the point because I understand the blue collar lifestyle. So let me say this,
right.
and please don't take this the wrong way.
I
It's
won't.
who you know and who you blow and who you rub elbows with. Am I right or wrong?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
He
Thank
told
you,
you.
ma'am.
But
Yes, ma'am. You're
and
100%
like he,
right.
how he was saying though, how there is no female privilege in works. I was looking at a 2015 study in the STEM industry, and people like a woman to a man in higher level education, right? If they both go apply in the STEM industry, the woman's going to get the job before the man because there's a quota for them wanting more women in
Yes,
that
sir.
industry.
You're
Just like
absolutely
So,
correct.
affirmative action.
I was
Same
about to say
concept.
it,
Yes,
Brandon.
sir. Just like affirmative action. You must
Yep.
have so many minorities working for you, plus you get a
Yep.
tax break for however many minorities work for you. So even if they're not skilled enough to have the job, they'll still have to give them the job because of the quotas they must meet. This is just
Correct.
facts of life, guys. This isn't, me
This is how
knocking
the
women. Hey,
industries work. They
that's
have to
how
have a
the
certain
industry
amount of
works.
male and female, black, white, Hispanic.
Right.
Like they
Yes,
have
sir.
to have a
Yes, ma'am.
certain demographics to meet certain standards. You're absolutely correct.
Every day,
Well, and
guys.
here's the
This is
problem
just
with that
facts.
though, because there is places that does it like that, but then it's not meritocracy anymore. It's not the best person for the best job. Now, trust me. Now, I'm not saying to exclude anybody. I don't think anybody should
No,
be
me either.
excluded,
We're
but
not
I
saying
think
that at
it
all.
should be the best man or woman for the job. It shouldn't be
Amen.
just because I need this quota filled, you come on in here and be a token. I think that's wrong.
Amen.
Oh,
100%. I feel like it's best man for the job, best woman for the job. That's
yeah,
it.
I believe that's how it should be.
Yeah, I do too.
Hello, how
But
you doing?
unfortunately, we know that's not the way this world operates.
Hello,
Oh, sorry. Hi. I was reading the comments.
how's it going?
You guys can continue what you were talking about.
And Clemson fan, you're 110% right. If you're in the blue collar, lifestyle, you know how this game goes. You know,
I
and
sure
what
do.
you said was 110% correct. They can spit all this other game they want to spit, but it's who you know and who you know what. So you know how it
Right.
goes.
Oh, I do, because I've seen it happen for my own. I've seen it happen with my own eyes.
Right.
Can you guys elaborate on that a little bit more for me?
Go
On
ahead,
what?
Clemson. You're the female. You do it. I'll
Yeah,
get in
actually,
trouble.
I would like to hear from her. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
So let me break it down. I'm not being smart, but let me break it down and not get flagged by the old app. You know what I mean? So let me
Yep,
just
yep,
Please
say,
yep.
don't get me kicked off.
Right.
here's,
No, I
here's the
understand.
perfect
Trust me, it happened to
analogy.
me plenty of times.
Y'all ready? The
Yep.
perfect analogy. Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton. That's the perfect analogy for who you know and who you blow. There you go. Let your mind wander. We all know the Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton story, so there you go.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't.
Oh,
Oh Lord
Oh,
Jesus.
a little bit
oh,
younger.
okay, so you're
Yeah,
younger. Okay,
I'm
not
probably a
being
little
rude.
bit. I don't know.
Okay,
Go
so
ahead.
Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton were caught up in a
Oh, okay.
There,
scandal
hold on 1 second. There
with the
is
blue
tall
dress.
privilege. I'm short, dang it. I know there's tall privilege.
Yeah, there is. I'm
There is
6'4".
definitely
I'm
tall
6'4".
privilege
There's
in the
definitely
males.
tall
Yeah,
privilege.
I'm like 5'7",
Yes,
dude. I'm
because
short.
y'all are the
I'm 5
mofos
foot.
that put
I
stuff
beat
on the top
everybody.
shelves. Yeah, we know
Right.
about that. My fiance is 6 feet. I know. Yeah. So Kyla, I hope I pronounced your name right, Kyla.
Yes, you did.
That was the best analogy I could give you for what I said. So I'm trying to stay within the guidelines. We all know how this goes. So
Right.
Kyla, so I want to tell you this. In the blue
Okay.
collar world, we treat women like queens. I will tell you this. And this is just me
very
now.
true.
I'm not speaking for everybody.
Yeah.
Very true.
I feel like because I worked somewhere, and it could have been just them. So this is very biased opinion. I've only worked at one type of job that's similar to what'd you say you did? Cable company.
Yeah, I did
I
cable
worked
sales
at
for that.
a body shop and a car lot. I worked at a car lot in the body shop area, and I was treated like absolute garbage. Not by the other people, so like not by the mechanics, not by the other service advisors. I was a service advisor. But by the uppers, I was absolutely targeted from the moment I walked in. I was constantly in trouble for things that no one's ever got in trouble for before. It to the point my HR even was on my side and trying to defend me to the owners of the company, and we both agreed it was because I was a female. She looked at me and was like, being in this industry as a female, you have to act a certain way. So I feel like there is a little bit of male privilege because females have to almost walk on ice in order to survive.
I don't really see that being privilege. I think it's just a bias. I think your boss was probably a dick. And I think that's illegal, and I don't think they should show difference between one or the
I
other.
agree.
That's why I said it's just a one-time thing. So I don't have a strong opinion, I guess. But from my one experience, it was very much male privilege there. I actually ended up getting let go for something I did with another
So
employee.
Kyla,
That was a male.
Well, here's the thing: if you could have
Kyla,
proved it, you could have been paid.
Kyla,
That part.
right. And Kyla, I want to give you another instance real quick. So I'm a welder and I'm a diesel mechanic, heavy equipment technician. We
Mhm.
just acquired a lady that's a welder. And let me tell you something. When I tell y'all this woman can weld, she's one of the best welders I've ever seen in my life. Not only is she a good welder, this woman can keep up with me and 10 more men just like me. Okay, she was well accepted into our little circle. She's doing great. She makes the same money we make, and she deserves every penny of it, if
Oh,
not more. So the point I'm trying to make is, if you're the right person for the job, the men are going to stand behind you. If you're the best for the job, we got your back. The
yep.
problem that we have is when you think you can come through the door, do absolutely nothing, and just because you're a certain type of
Yeah.
individual or this, that, and the third, that we got to accept you and we got to, proclaim glory to you. We're
Mhm.
not going to do that. In the blue collar world, we're going to respect you off of the same merits that we are respected off of. You get in here, you grind your butt off, you do your job, you show up every day. You're going to get the same respect as everybody else.
Which
And
is
most of the
Right.
horrible.
time,
It's horrible because I build pools. Okay, so we got like
Well, I used to
it's
do
a.
that as well, actually, but I worked for my grandpa, so there was definitely no problem there. But go ahead.
But what
Sorry.
I've been seeing so much lately is like you got a little bit younger people coming in here. They think they can just be on their phones the whole time, do the least amount of anything. But then if anything is said to them, it's, oh, you're picking on me or this, that, and other.
right,
No, just come in and do your dang job. That's it. We're here to work. Like I've seen it
right,
so much more. Like going to the store, people be on their phones. Don't even say.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I worked in
So
retail
rude.
when I was a kid, it was,
So
hey, how you
rude.
doing? Be nice and stuff. Nowadays, that's went out the window.
You don't
Yeah.
talk to the person who's
facts.
helping you behind the counter. You have no manners. That's like one of the worst, rudest things I could think of. I have called people out in the store like, you're not that important. I don't care if you're talking to the president or Jesus Christ. Get off the phone and talk to the person who's helping you. And I know that I
Facts.
usually, like when I come in here,
Yeah,
I
I
have like
agree.
the
My grandparents
unpopular opinion.
deals with that
So
a
I'll just
lot.
go ahead and get my unpopular opinion out of the way. I got attacked last time, but I was with you, Gen X. So as far as male privilege, I think male privilege was a temporary thing. And to be honest, female privilege is what started in ancient civilization. It's the females that had the privilege, that were the royalty, that were the gods, goddesses, and the ones that were revered. So female privileges came along. And this is speaking as a teacher from social studies, this teaching from an anthropological point of view. It was females who had privilege long before males did. And then there came a certain time, right around, say, the 12, 13, 1400s, where you had monarchs, and kings and queens, where the men said, we need to step up and take this privilege back. So for thousands of years, it was females. And then the males came in and they kind of reversed things and said, we want what's coming to us. And so they kind of changed things, made laws and made rules where they were at the top of the food chain, as it were, female versus male. Now, I think in this century, it's starting to balance itself out,
I have a
where
question for you.
it's males and females, and I don't think that males have a privilege over females. I do think the mistake that's being made is the quota mistake. We're going to hire this person for being this nationality, this race, this sex. You may not be the best qualified for the job, but we're going to hire you because we have to show we have this quota, and that's not okay. And that's going for scholarships for colleges. It's going for jobs. It's not all right. It should always be the best person for the job. I don't care if you're a purple hermaphrodite. If you're the best person for the job, you get the job.
Amen.
And that's how it should be. And I'm hoping now that we're trying to level the playing field that we will get to that. But first, because we went through females being on top, having female privilege, and there was female privilege. And if you think I'm wrong, do your homework. And then there was male privilege. We each had our turn. Now we have this weird tussle back and forth, and we're going to have to live through that tussle. And we probably won't see the end of that tussle in our lifetimes. But my hope is that at some point it gets to best person for the job, period, end of story, next.
Question.
And I think it's the best way
Yes.
because if we're with the quota, I mean, think about it. If you know somebody got hired in on that didn't deserve the job, that's gonna put a wedge in between people. Like, okay,
Yes,
they're
yes,
not
it does.
really shouldn't be here, so that means I'm better. I think it's just going to cause more conflict than anything.
Conflict,
And,
yes, and that's why I don't think we'll see the end of this conflict in our
and
lifetime, but hopefully it'll sort itself out. I'm sorry, you had a question, Brandon?
yeah, two things. So in the blue collar world as well, if you're in the blue collar world, you'll know what I'm about to say. The number one way you destroy a good employee is letting a bad employee get away with doing bad things, because the good employee will eventually give up. Okay, so back to your point, Miss, if you bring the wrong person in under false pretenses, whether it be affirmative action, whether it be because they're a female, and you allow that person to exist in a realm that they don't belong, not because of any, they're being a female or skin color, but just because they don't belong, they don't know the job, they don't understand the job. You're going to destroy the best employees that are there. I've seen
I
it
agree.
multiple times.
And it
Multiple
ruins
times.
morale. It ruins morale. It means
It
no matter
does
how good of a job I do, if I don't fit into this demographic that they need to
that.
fulfill, it doesn't matter. And Radio Swamp, the answer to your question is no.
Also, I get so in my field, they call us toxic masculine men, and I don't understand why
Ugh,
we're
that's
so
not even a
toxic,
thing.
because we're men, we're alphas,
No. A toxic
uh,
masculine man is someone who walks around beating people up or committing crimes for no reason.
yeah,
That's not, here's the thing. Masculinity is an amazing, wonderful, sexy, fantastic thing.
right,
Don't shake it off because you think you have to. Femininity is a wonderful, sexy, lovely thing. Don't get rid of it.
Yes.
I don't
right,
feel that I
right,
need to take on masculinity to have power. My rights are protected by the Constitution. I don't have to go out and march. I don't have to be masculine. My femininity, it works just fine for me. And you know what? I prefer a masculine man. And you know
right,
what? I'm
right.
doing just fine in life. So,
Well,
Well,
like,
that's
that
look,
like
I seen a video. It was best video ever. Like this person was interviewing this feminist, and it was talking about if you're on a date with a guy and somebody comes out and starts attacking you, do you want that guy to protect you, or be
right,
like,
yes.
well, you handle it? Do you want you to
right.
handle it? And then she's always like, well, I want the guy to handle it. Yes,
Well, there you
exactly.
go.
So
That's like
Because
my
I think
wife.
if a guy makes you feel protected and safe as a woman, and you make him feel taken care of, you each have it's a give and take.
Right,
In any relationship, there's going to be a give and take. And just because certain people don't agree with your give and take, for me, I prefer a guy that's very protective and makes you feel safe. And I prefer as a woman to be the type that I'm going to take care of you and make you feel loved and cared for. I like that give and take. Some people have different ideas, and I'm fine with that. But don't crap on someone else's ideas of what makes them happy.
so
when that's what's going
my,
on, it's turning a
I
lot
gotta
of
take
guys
this
into
call. I
feminine
will be
guys.
back.
so
Sorry, this is
It's,
a doctor's
I mean,
office. I gotta take this.
but
so
it's, nowadays a lot of guys are turning feminine. Like
right. Hey, and to the
they
host,
won't get out there and okay, yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. To the host, real quick. So that's like me. I'm very masculine, but let me tell you something. I'm the head of my house, but without my wife, she's my neck. I can't do nothing without my wife. So we don't look at it as I'm above her or she's below me. We are equal. We are one. We are one. Yes, I have the final say so, because at the end of the day, I'm going to be responsible for whatever decisions are made. It's going to fall in my lap and my lap alone. But at
Well,
the
that's
end,
what people get a misconception of what being head of the house means. It
right.
doesn't mean that you're a taskmaster and
No, sir.
she bows down. I mean, my old lady, we're a team. Trust
Hey,
me. Now, if something goes out of the way, yeah, that's where I step up. But
right.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
but
people look at it like, oh, you're just trying to keep it back in the 50s or 40s. No,
I
that's not what we're doing.
No, brother, I agree with you. And like I said, I'm gonna jump out of here. I'm gonna eat some dinner with my wife, man. But you guys have a good one. I enjoyed it.
You too, sir. I followed you.
Thank you, brother.
I
I followed
appreciate you
you.
coming on.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Sorry. Was that whole call online?
No. You was good.
Okay.
It was you,
All
Foster.
right. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to, the guy asking about the sky is blue. I said it wasn't blue, but technically it's partially blue. It's all the colors of the rainbow are in the sky. Somebody actually asked that question, so I'm literally going to answer it. All the colors of the rainbow are in the sky at all times. But UV rays or UV light makes the colors disperse. Now, each color has a different density. The color that remains the most dense when hit by the sun is blue. So when you look up in the sky, you see blue. That's why during a sunrise or a sunset, when the sun is just coming up or it's going down and the UV light is less, those other colors come popping out at sunset and sunrise because their particles and molecules are starting to come back together. But in midday, when the sun is brightest, they shoot apart, and blue is the one that stays the densest, and that's why the only color you see is blue, but it's actually all 7 colors. I hope that answers your question. I'm not sure what it has to do with masculinity, but someone asked, so there's your answer.
Hey, how's it going, Pikachu?
What's the land of conflict that only exists in your head? Keep bowing to your bullets. Bowling to your bullets? I just store my bullets where everyone else stores them properly in a safe.
It's not conflict. We're just having conversations. We like to have a conversation.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. So I happened to see the background and I heard the conversation. I guess my first thing before the person had left, I was just gonna ask, like, what's the problem with men being feminine? If they like want to be feminine.
There's
know.
nothing wrong with it. The point is, but it's going to get to the point where a feminine man is not going to be able to protect a woman when it comes down to it. They're going to be expecting the woman to protect the man.
But why does femininity imply that someone doesn't know how to protect someone?
It's more of a feminine nature to be protected.
I don't know. I don't conceptualize femininity that way. I think that you can be feminine and be very like protective. Because if you think about it, like,
well, yeah. Because look, definitely females are protective over children by all means.
Exactly.
Oh, mama bear is a thing. Yeah.
Right. So I think.
But if a man comes out and starts punching you in the face, do you want your man to protect you, or just be like, hey, I think you can handle it?
I mean, like, I would want us to like fight them together. Like, I wouldn't want like.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't see why like he should fight alone. Like, we're both adults.
I wouldn't want my woman to get hurt by a man. So I'm going to take, if this dude's beating the crap out of me, I'd rather him beat the crap out of me than touch her.
I think that that's a line where it's like, I think there's a certain level of selflessness when you're in a relationship with someone where you would not want harm to come to your partner. So you would rather harm to come to you. But I don't think that that's necessarily a masculine or feminine trait. Like, I as like a woman, if someone was attacking me, I would want my partner to help try to stop that from happening. But I wouldn't rather him beat him than me. Like, that's just like selfishness on my end.
Well, it's like, I'm sure she wouldn't want, my wife wouldn't want to see me get beat up, but I would do all I can to keep her out of it.
Exactly.
Because I wouldn't want her. Yeah, I wouldn't want to see her touched.
Right.
It's kind of like the Joker and Harley Quinn.
If it was two people like coming to rob us,
bullet, but she's behind him with a bat and a gun. You know, that's
like,
what I was thinking. Like the Joker and Harley Quinn, she's got his back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, I think that
she's going to go into battle for him. Even, you know what I mean? And that's what I think it should be. Yes, the man feels like he wants to be protective, and I get that, but you're right behind him going, we go into battle together.
Exactly.
You know, like, that's what, and I know it's weird for me to come up with a Joker Harley Quinn, but that's the best way I could make to get it. You know, he's nuts, he's going to throw himself in front of it, but she's behind him crazy as hell with a gun in the back going, try me. You know what I mean? They're going in together. So, and I guess that's how I think it should be.
Mm-hmm. And I think that it comes from my background specifically and stuff. And like, I think that not all groups of women have had the position of being able to be the one who gets rescued, and also often like having to like fight for themselves. So I think it's just like, that's an experience that only certain groups of women have, where it's like, oh yeah, somebody's going to protect me, like save me. Like, I don't know, like not all demographics of women get to have that experience.
So you're saying you want to be saved? No, I'm just kidding.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, I think that
I'm
because
just
Wait,
joking
wow,
with
someone
you.
just turned it into white male privilege. I don't think they said, what if you don't have a gun? Then go buy one. I
but as far as like the male privilege thing, yeah, I definitely believe male privilege exists. I think privilege is a concept that like it's
More
almost like
male privilege than female privilege, though?
oh yeah,
I
most
think
definitely.
we had it first. We had female privilege first for centuries. And then males kind of stepped in and said, it's our turn. And they kind of flipped things around and they took their turn. But I can say, yeah, there's male privilege, knowing that females had privilege for thousands of years. And then males took their turn. And now we're trying to level the playing field. There's going to be a lot of quota things going on as far as hiring and scholarships. And that's not going to work itself out in our lifetime. It just keeps getting worse. But hopefully, in a century or so, it's going to level out and it'll be best person for the situation.
So when we're talking about privilege from like a sociological standpoint or something, it's talking
Yes.
about like systems of power and
Russ, yes.
the either benefits or lack of oppression that is afforded to certain groups of people.
Nemak,
So
do your research. Female privilege went on for centuries. Women were the heads of the tribes, the queens, the goddesses. Female privilege
like
was a thing. You just got to do your homework. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Degenerate.
so like yeah, like I think that especially like under our system currently, we live in what's called like a patriarchy.
Yes,
So
currently.
under our system, like women don't experience privilege, or female people don't like experience privilege. They're often like the victims of violence. They're often not
Hold on.
trusted.
Men are the more victims of violent crime than women are.
Because they attack
Right.
each other in
Right,
addition
that-
to...
It's
Men will
true,
attack each
but
other
I don't
in
think the
addition to
person
attacking a
getting
woman.
attacked is going to be like, well, it's by another guy, so it's okay.
But
So it's
that's
not
because-
privilege because males get attacked more with violent crimes.
Yeah.
But that's because men are socialized to be violent. Like it's
Right,
not.
but you were saying that as a female privilege. It's not, because we get attacked more.
That is true.
It's complicated. Like women experience more violence by men than men. Like when we're talking about like cross gender violence, men contribute to violence more against women than women contribute to violence against men. So you like when you say, oh yeah, men experience more violence, but that's by other men. So you can't like use that as the metric. You have to look at like
But the man that's being attacked doesn't feel that him getting attacked is more privileged than the woman that isn't.
You know
Right,
what
but
I
that's
think? Because
not-
men think they don't, and I don't mean this to be rude, but sometimes men, an idea just drops on them like a bomb and they run with it. Like, I'm going to hit somebody. Whereas a woman, we will sit back, relax, and calculate. We have that in us more so than men do to go, all right, I'm going to fix this wagon, but let's just think this through for a minute. What's the best way I can do this? I mean, I truly believe, like they say that we talked about this with the white males about the serial killers. I don't think there aren't female serial killers. I think the difference is men need eventually for someone to know that it was them because they need the credit. A woman could slit your throat and not tell her best friend or anybody for the rest of her life and no one ever knows. We have that ability to sit back and calculate to save our ass, and guys just, wah! It's like an idea drops on them like a bomb, and they just go. God love them. And, you know, I don't mean that disrespectfully. It's just what it is. Poison, yes, we did. Poison was our thing, Shannon, yes.
It goes back to how we're socialized because like men are socialized to be able to like act on like feelings and emotions without like men are rewarded for violent behavior or at least at minimum tolerated for violent behavior, whereas women are not. And they've done studies on this with like even little kids where like even female teachers will reprimand little girls for showing aggressive behavior harsher than they will little boys. And so from
men are more aggressive by nature. I mean, I don't deny that.
I don't think that men are more aggressive by nature. I
Except
think
for 1 week out of the
60%
month.
more aggressive. They're 60% more aggressive than females.
right, but that doesn't mean it's by nature. That just means that it exists. Like that so for all intents and purposes, which I mean, of course, like from what I understand, like according to the data, that it has more to do with the fact that we socialize men to view aggression as like the go-to thing. And like I said, that happens from a very young age where it's like if a little boy does something violent, we're like, oh, Timmy, stop doing that. But we're like, okay, boys will be boys, and we just kind of expect that behavior from boys. Whereas with
Okay, you know what?
women,
I'm a
women
special ed teacher, TNJ, and that comment is not okay.
Well,
Sorry,
about that,
degenerate. Sorry,
there's
that's
also
rude.
there's also
Sorry, go
studies
ahead.
that where they've tried suppressing those behaviors, and then it comes back with a vengeance.
right,
But
but
here's
that
my
doesn't
question.
explain how they
When
get
we
there.
were in power, when it was a female privilege, did we train the guys to be the ones to go out and be violent so that we can kick back and not have to do it? Is that why they're violent by nature? Do we indoctrinate that in them when women were in power, which is a thing? We may have created that for us because we didn't want to do it. I don't want to go out there and slug it out with someone. You go do it. So I'm going to start, you know what I mean? Do we create that and now we're complaining about it?
I think from what I understand, matriarchies tended to be more egalitarian. I'm not saying that there weren't matriarchies that weren't.
No, I agree.
But like they tend to be more egalitarian. I think that male aggression is like a combination of a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's a very complicated thing of how like people get socialized and stuff like that.
So you don't think it's biology at all?
I don't think. I think it's reductive to say that biology has no effect, but I think that society exacerbates the effects that it has. So, for instance, like
School fight, there were 3 last week. Sorry, go
like
ahead.
so, like someone mentioned testosterone. Like testosterone does have the ability to make you more.
Testosterone does, yes.
So
I agree
think
with that.
I think that biology has these like little nudges, but then as society, we create these like larger social patterns around those nudges that makes it much harder to fight against like the little nudges that your biology would give you.
So we make the biological nudges socially acceptable.
Exactly. And we don't have any pushback or any sort of like if we socialize men to view violence as something that is not only expected of men but integral to their identity, when their biology is saying do something aggressive, they're going to go along with it because they view that as part of their identity as being a man, is to be aggressive.
Okay, but hold on one thing about that. But with the socialization, okay, if you look at it though, you have apes, male apes versus male apes. Guess what they do? They fight. They fight for the woman or for the female ape, and they haven't been socialized at all.
And the Ghost in the Darkness were actually females, even though they were males in the movie because they wanted the mains. In real life, those lions were female. They're actually in the
So
field
it's just
museum.
nature to be aggressive. I mean, you can. I'm not saying to go out here and be aggressive for no reason, or
The females
you
in
know,
nature are
just
also aggressive. It's all about when it comes to that point, it's like that also usually comes down to resources. Like there's not many that I can't think of a species offhand where there's less men than there are women, and so the women have to males and females where the females have to fight. But like
like she said, lions.
If you have a species where there's less males than females, and the females have to compete anyway, then they would be the ones that show more aggressive behavior. My money would be on that because like that's what that's tied to. Usually aggression is the thing that gets you the mate that allows you to be able to pass on your offspring. So it's more about resources. Like usually there's more females in a species than males. So the males are competing for a female, quote unquote.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Right. I see what you're saying.
Have to compete for the male usually.
So do you have any other examples of male privilege, except because the violent crime one? I mean, regardless who it's, who's perpetrating it, it's still perpetrated against men more. So do you have any other examples?
So things like careers and stuff like that. Women, when it comes to the workplace, are not as taken as seriously in their positions, and their positions when things are often questioned and not like for instance, you could have a man who's not educated on the field and come along and say something, and people will disregard a woman who is educated in that field and they will disregard what she said or her expertise over in favor of the man who does not have expertise.
Well,
And
I
they
think that
just
can depend on the situation, the industry. Because I mean, that's a little anecdotal. Because I mean, where I work, we've got males and females, and we all put input together. So I think
Yeah,
it
I think
depends.
it depends
Now,
on the
I don't
boss.
disagree. It used to be more that way back in the day. Women wasn't gonna give us a opinion back in the day, but nowadays it's getting to the point where we're more equal, and everybody throws in an opinion.
That's actually like factually false. It's still disproportionately happening in some places, and actually more fields is actually happening more for the simple fact that you had more women actually getting access to the
Yeah,
education. So it's
I
actually
will.
increased. It's actually increased at a very gross level. But some people, they don't want to admit that it has increased, because then that shows that there is like cracks in their own field and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But it's increased a lot. It's just
But what's
it's not talked
increased? Saying that
Gen
like
X,
the women don't have
Jivo
a
Luffy wants to
no,
join.
so like
Look for
literally
Jivo
saying,
Luffy.
so like saying that, for as Alyssa was saying, that people, if a woman were to give her expert opinion, her opinion is denounced, it is demeaned, it is basically viewed less than. That is happening. Is the only reason it's happening more is because women are getting the jobs, but then when it comes for them to put their opinions in on those jobs, they're being silenced.
Mhm.
Now, do you
I
think
And
that's
that
But
because
and
the
silence.
how
person
can
in
you prove
charge
that?
is
I guess
just
is how what I'm
uncool,
saying.
or is that
How can
across
you
the
prove
board?
it? How can
Because
you
that
Yeah,
prove
sounds
it?
like
because
You
a
look at the
person
media.
issue.
We have plenty of female people in the
Right, but see,
media who
there's
give
a
their
difference
opinions
between
every day.
there's a
Yeah,
Right,
I
but
difference
don't
between
think
the
that's
media.
across the board. I think if you just got a bad boss,
No,
I
Exactly.
think
there's a difference
a bad
between
boss.
no, but when you're looking at like how the
Um,
rise in certain things and
sorry.
act, that's what I'm basing it off of, because that's what I studied communications. So I'm looking when I look at certain companies' communication
Is everybody
strategies
okay
and
now?
stuff like that, and you see an increase, because the things that we were talking about, we wouldn't talk about them unless certain things were happening. And so we wouldn't have to have an increased study about certain interactions in the workplace if those things were not on the rise and currently happening.
But what I'm
and I
saying is, how can you judge that? Saying, okay, in an industry, a woman's opinion doesn't matter. How do you judge that? Like, there's no kind of statistics that can even support that.
yeah,
Yeah,
you can
actually, you
definitely
can. You
you
can
can
you can look at it.
There are.
You can look at it from the if you were to dive into the HR data of a company, and they were if you were to evaluate a company and look at it, you also see the increase of crimes. If you look at how certain crimes that were happening or perpetuated, it they those police reports technically have data in them. You just have to go looking for the information. Most of the time, most people don't go out and actually look at and research hundreds of papers
What are you
and
talking about,
actually
crime?
research. Hmm? No,
What are you
because
talking about, crime?
say for example, say if
Search like
yeah, like say if I
SA
reported like
or
right, so
rape.
say if I was say if I was I had something wrong done to me at my job, and then I had to give a report in the history along with the police for of the history of what was happening at that job. So therefore, I would have to give a history, and a lot of people, now that people are giving more and more stuff is happening, and you look at these reports, you're seeing that, oh, this is rising, because the same thing of how it was originally getting reported was because it was in tandem with literal hate, like acts of aggression, I'll call it, because that's how we really knew about it, because we was in those files of the cases of acts of aggression. And just a lot of people don't spend time reading those, and that's to each their own. They're quite boring, but you can see the pattern. Plus, also, if you look at race and how men get employed, or how there's literal data about how when men
Yeah, I
have a
can give
female
you
boss.
an example on that if you
Oh
want.
yeah,
Like
My
like
for
when
question is
example,
men.
the
this though:
field.
is it male
Oh,
privilege? Are these men getting away with it? Are they able to
Yes.
walk into court
in
and
some
go, "Well, I
sentences,
was a
yes.
man. I'm a man"?
that's
No,
That's
not
the
It
it's
thing.
not
seems
about.
like
that is
If,
not
Okay.
say,
male
for example,
privilege.
something like this
No,
did
for
happen
no.
and it can
I'm
be
going to explain
proven,
it.
that boss will get fired, and that woman probably could
No,
sue him and
Not
No,
get
not
money off of it.
necessarily.
no,
that's
Not
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 That
necessarily.
doesn't
necessarily.
We've had
always happen.
cases.
I can actually give you one
Well, I
real
do know
world
Walmart,
example.
it
I can give
happened
you one
exactly
real world
this way.
example.
Women were getting paid less at Walmart. They were able to prove that, and they sued them for like millions of dollars. So, yes,
Yeah.
it can.
It
Right, but
doesn't
that
always
doesn't mean
happen. I can even use the US military as an
You got to be able to
example
prove it.
because stuff like that happens
Sam Breeze,
so
there's two
much
of
in
us
that
women here.
field.
stuff like that happens insanely amounts in that field, especially in the U.S.
And where?
military. The
Oh, you mean
U.S.
like
military.
lowering the requirements for women? Is that what you're talking
No,
about?
basically, we're talking about, let's say, for
My
instance,
voice is
someone
low, that's
was
why.
to be able to be promoted, right, as a woman, and there was a man who was slightly below her, but she had more so the needs to be promoted. In the sense, I've seen it happen so many times. In the sense, they would always promote the man above the woman.
See,
Okay,
I
now
There's
I
see a
don't
lot
know
some,
of
if
that
that
there's
is
some,
reverse
true.
going
there's
on
like so
now.
much,
I
there's
don't
People
know
so
if
much
getting the
that's
women in
jobs
the
true.
that don't
military,
deserve it.
and that is
But I don't look. I don't
clearly
know if
a
that's true.
form
But
of
what's
male
the
privilege.
difference of them lowering the PT requirements for women instead of men? Like
How is
women
that?
can do
How is
less
that?
push-ups,
How is
less
that a
sit-ups,
privilege?
less
How is
pull-ups.
that a privilege, though?
That's not.
To do less?
But in this
No,
day
but
and
That's
but
not a
age,
hold it. For
privilege,
they're
example,
though.
hiring
hold wait.
people
Just to
based on a
clarify
quota,
something.
not
No,
based
but
on
here's
anything
the
else.
thing.
We need X amount of women, X amount of this race, X amount
So
of this
we let you get away
nationality.
with this and get hired.
You're getting hired
I don't
even
think
if
you
there's
understand
someone
what you're
better for
trying
the
to like
job.
accommodate privilege with something as a cap on what people can do.
Right,
But
but
There's
here's
a
the
here's
reason
thing.
why the cap is
I'm
set.
talking
no,
about
but
something that is
I'm
provable.
confused about something because you talked about earlier about with apes and stuff like that and aggression and how certain men, the male apes and stuff like that. But it's just if you're talking about like how requirement, it's just it's weird. I'm trying to figure out the consistency in thought how you can say with one breath that men are do this or are aggressive and stuff like that, but yet an aggression could talk. You can argue, an argument can be made that aggression is tied to physical output, which scientifically it's a bit is if you want to mention how testosterone and stuff works. So if you're going to have that base, but then talk about how the requirements are lower for women to or people with heavy estrogen bodies to do less,
Well, let
that
me explain it.
yeah.
Because the reason we were talking about aggression is because we was talking about aggression and violent crimes against men from men. So we were talking about aggression. Now, how I'm able to state what I just stated is she's
Mm-hmm.
talking about, which I don't know if it's true, that men get promoted more than women in the military, but yet
It's
it's
definitely
okay
true.
for
I
them to
mean,
do
you
less.
can go check
So
it
if a
up.
woman does less, do you not think she shouldn't get promoted?
No, but here's the
But
thing.
I'm talking
You don't.
about a
Hold
woman who
wait. If
is
you
Is
don't
that
overly
believe,
equal? Hold
required
on.
to be promoted.
But
Is it equal?
that's not what they were saying. They were saying that there are examples where there's men who were doing less than the women, and they were still getting promoted before the women who were doing more than them. That's
I
what
don't
they're
think that
talking
happens too much anymore, though.
It
I think
still,
now
Right.
I
it's
don't
it
think
no,
definitely
it
reversed.
still
does.
And
does.
once again,
It
like I said,
definitely still
I
does
think
happen.
now it's
It definitely.
quota. We got to
I'm
meet our
not even.
quota,
I'm
and
not
we're
about
going
to
to fill
argue
that
this because
quota
I
even if
literally
you're
I stay with someone
qualified.
who is in the military currently, who is currently
right.
in the cybersecurity field in the military, who has seen this happen, who has argued throughout this for one of their friends. So I'm not even about to argue
Right.
about something that I
Here's
already
what I'm
visibly
talking about,
know
though.
and see.
I'm talking about things that can be proven. I can look at two
This
people and
can
say this.
literally be proven. One easy Google search will show you the
Okay,
data
so
You know what the
source.
problem is, though? We're talking about this girl at Walmart, this girl in the military, this girl, that girl. We need to talk about in the general sense.
Oh, in the
right.
There
general sense, we
was
can use the
centuries of
cybersecurity field.
female privilege.
We
well,
There
can
was
use the
centuries
here's
of
my
male
thing.
cybersecurity field.
privilege. Now we're going
There's a
through, we're trying to level the
78.5% of
playing
men in the
No,
field.
cybersecurity
So
field
we're
and
letting all these people
81.5% of women in
have the better
cybersecurity field.
jobs to fill a quota instead of the person that's most qualified. We
right.
will go through this for quite some time. We will. We went through female privilege for a long time. We went through male privilege for a long time. This attempt to level the playing field, this is going to go on for a century. You're going to have quota hires, and you're not as qualified as this one, but we got to meet this quota and this, that, and everything. And this is going to go on before it balances itself out. And I have no doubt that it will, probably not in my lifetime, but it will. But it is happening right now. In an attempt to level the playing field, we are not giving the jobs and the scholarships, etc., to the person who deserves it most. We're doing it to feed a quota number. We are
I hear people
100%
You
talk
doing
like
do
that.
that.
realize that
I
they
hear people
can't
talk
do
like
that.
that, but I've
But
never
wait,
seen
before
dancing
example,
days
real
before.
quick, because there were scholarships and stuff brought up. Schools can't do that anymore. That's just factually how it is. They just
Well,
can't.
I mean, they're being
Well, they're
sued
not
for it.
supposed to, but they
Yeah.
are.
No, literally,
They
they
can't.
can't. And this is why, because this is why I wonder: did y'all go to university and ever apply to those scholarships?
Well,
because
yeah, I've
okay,
got
so
3 college degrees. I've been.
okay, so that's what I'm saying is, did you go recently? Because I know for a fact for me, it was like a whole thing. You knew who got what scholarship, and the school had to give it to the best applicant. But some people did not read fully what the scholarship was looking for. And for example, I know from at Kent, you had a non-BIPOC people applying for a BIPOC scholarship, and even though they had a higher GPA, they were expecting to get a BIPOC scholarship, not looking at where the scholarship was coming from and how the people who made the scholarship, who put the money there for that, put it there for a specific purpose. Then they go on this tangent and say, and it was happening across multiple states and multiple universities, how you have people with higher GPA saying, well, I should have got this, why I didn't get this, why I didn't get this. Did you even look at the full requirements of the scholarship? Those some
I think her point is the
No, I
scholarship
agree
should
with
be
what you're
for
saying.
everybody.
no,
I
It
agree
shouldn't
with
be
what you're
individual.
saying.
but
That
no, but wait, no,
Vendrick's Gem, I agree with what you're saying. Here's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's 100% quota hire right now. What I'm saying is it's working itself out, and that will probably take decades to work itself out. Okay, you had female privilege, then you had male privilege. Now we're in the era of let's even it out. It's going to take decades. So at first it was quota, 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 quota. Now you have certain companies and certain schools who are like, we're not going to play the quota game. We're going to give it to the most qualified person. But you have other companies and schools who are saying, no, we're going to fill a quota. It's going to take decades before it's literally an even playing field for everybody. It's not going to happen overnight. I think it's going to take time, and I think that's the phase that we're in right
Hold on,
now.
I'm sorry. I haven't been paying attention to the chat. I'm sorry. I'm going back.
Why are they saying racist? Why are they saying
Well, that's
that?
what I'm looking for. I don't
Yeah,
know.
Julius is being racist in the comments, was making like comments with like monkey emojis next to them. And when I said like, why are people being racist? They addressed me specifically, and were, even though I didn't like say their name, they're like, oh, but you're racist too, right? Da, 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 da. So they're being racist in the chat.
Oh, guys, don't do that. Don't be rude. You know
I
what?
affect
Come
us
for
like that.
me.
They can't
I'm the
help it.
Sicilian in the group. Come for me. Come for me. Try me. Because there's nothing you can say that's going to offend me. I am a Gen X, Sagittarian, Sicilian. Come for me.
Y'all, I wouldn't try a Sicilian who's Gen X. That's new age. That's new age right there. Them motherfuckers funny as fuck. Don't come for Sicilians. They'll roast your ass.
Don't you go after the rest of these nice people.
But no,
You know
I'm
what?
telling
Pick
you,
on someone your own size.
Pikachu, you don't know about them Sicilians, man. Them motherfuckers they don't fuck around.
no.
The Sicilians motherfuckers,
They be
they'll
eating
fuck you.
people up.
Yeah.
Yeah, them the motherfuckers that will fuck you up.
Like, you know how some people feel like, that it's a bad thing to be thought of as aggressive? We cultivated that reputation. We want you to know that we are aggressive.
Yeah.
We take pride. We wear aggression like a badge of honor. So bring it.
Like I tell people, Sicilians the type of motherfucker that will throw a shoe and a bottle of water at your ass. And they only threw the bottle of water. And I tell people the only reason they threw the bottle of water was because they still need that other shoe to run. Because they they need to take it off while they running at you. Because they gonna
at you, not away from you, at you.
Not away from you. No, they're gonna try to throw it at you because they need that shit while they running. Sicilian mothers are the only people I know that can chase a child around the house 5 times and not catch for one breath.
Nope. Yep.
So yeah, Sicilians, they funny and they cook real good too.
Yes,
but I
we do.
only know about that because I'm from Ohio. But yeah, most people ain't blessed like that.
There you go. I'm Midwest too. I'm from the Midwest Italian capital. That should let you in on it.
To Mexican food. I like Mexican food. My grandma was Mexican.
Who doesn't like tacos?
I'm talking about real. I'm not talking about like just regular taco. I'm talking about real Mexican food. Like my grandma used to make the best meals ever. It was amazing. Dude, she would. And back in the day, I didn't like spicy stuff, so she would make like a whole batch of hot tamales, but then she would make a whole batch of just mild tamales for me. It was awesome.
Do you know how long that takes? I've done a tamalada. That takes all day.
Dude, it was so great. She was a good lady.
I love tamales.
So
you can't make blanket statements like family law always favors mom. Oh, they're arguing with each other. Okay.
So I was just gonna say, like, there's different facets to things. So, like, yeah. And when you were saying earlier, host, like, yeah, there's a lot of women who share their opinion. Yeah, it's not the fact that women are not sharing their opinion. It's how we subconsciously weigh their opinion in comparison to men's opinions? Do we give women's opinions the same validity that we give men's, or is there a tendency to say, oh yeah, the man probably knows what he's talking about more than the woman? And it doesn't have to be a conscious thought, it can be a subconscious thought because of things like implicit bias and stuff. And they've done studies on like how, there's a study I just saw recently actually where they did a thing where they had a fictional woman compete against a man. So it wasn't actually a woman like competing against men, but they were being told that a woman was competing against them in certain things like on a computer. And there was a correlation between men who they told them that the woman outperformed them. And then they had them rank what they thought the woman was dressed like, or like a picture to represent the woman. And so men who got angry at the fact that they were outperformed tended to rank the woman in very skimpy clothing. And so they think it's like a correlation between how men who view like women as like basically that women who outperformed men were more likely to be sexually objectified by men who were angry by the fact that they were outperformed.
But here's the thing about that. All that proves is, yeah, there are men that are pigs. I don't disagree with that.
Insecure, yep.
I mean,
I agree.
What does it prove?
I agree.
I mean, yeah, there are men or
specific people that not all men. It's
no, there are some.
People. I'm here to tell you, if my son behaved in that way, or was physically violent toward a woman, or objectified a woman, well, our friend here already told you I'd be willing to chase him around the house and lay his ass flat. That don't happen. So I think it depends on how you were raised, and then it depends on, well, not how you were raised, but after that, then how you decide to be a woman or how you decide to be a man. Are you respectful of fellow human beings, or are you saying to yourself, well, this is a guy and this is a girl and this person's this religion and this person's this race and this person's this nationality? It shouldn't be like that. You're either a good person or you're not. And that's how I'm going to make my decision. You know, your behavior, you decide how we're going to behave. That's how I am. You know, I'm going to match your energy. So you decide how we're going to act right now, kind of thing. I don't care who you are. And I try to raise my kids to be that way. You know, it doesn't matter what I'm looking at. It matters what you're giving me that I'm going to give back. You know what I mean? But not everybody's like that, which is sucky.
Well, the truth is there is a direct correlation from the fact that we know development.
Wait, sweetie, you're cutting out. There's a
direct. I didn't know if that was his mine or.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a direct correlation. This is factual. There's a direct correlation to how adults treat other adults and children based on how they were treated as a child.
Yes.
And how they were raised. But another interesting fact about that is that, because I was looking into majority of the men that, well, people, it started off as people. Then my teacher was like, no, you just look up the men. I was looking into mass shootings. And a lot of these men did not really, although their parents tried to say they had loving households, you can tell that it really wasn't loving. They weren't given that much attention. They weren't given much respect. And so I'm sitting here thinking, well, how could I judge a person or expect them to have any kind of respect for another human being when they probably were never showed that respect in their life?
Right. So nature versus nurture.
Also, another thing that a lot of people do not want to admit is that when you have like Italians, and the Italians, most of the ones I know, they don't really like to claim that, you know, they are of the dweller diaspora. They the first ones to drop that and say, you know, no, we Sicilian, we this. And then you have the ones that do. But in Cleveland, they want to call their ass Italian. They don't want to be called a dweller. They want to be called motherfucking Italian. But majority of the people that do those violences and stuff, and a lot of the people that are the reason why we have the idea of male privilege is the ones that, you know, they want to identify as dweller. And it's a sad correlation, but that is the truth, is that they don't have anything else to retreat to. All they have is being a dweller male, and they want to impose the privileges that they think that they should have, and they want to search for things that they feel like they should have gotten, but they didn't, and they feel robbed. And that's just it's a sad truth, but it's the truth.
but it could be the same on the flip side. Also, you could have the other side
What is the other
thinking
side
that
though?
I should get this privilege and I should be in the military no matter if I can do what the men do.
Can I say something, host?
What's the
Right,
difference?
but what exactly what is in the you got to look at. People are just saying I just don't want to go to the military because a lot of people don't look to go to the military, go to a battlefield and start shooting people. Most people don't look to that. They look to perform certain jobs in the military. They look to do certain things in the military. And so or any other armed forces. They look to do certain things. And when you're not afforded to allow to do those certain things for reasons that can't even truly be explained, that is a fundamental issue. If I am the best, if I am a woman and I am the best pilot ever, there should be no reason why I'm not at the top.
Right. But you should be able to you should be able to compete with the standards that were set in place.
Right.
You
But
shouldn't be able to
but
get
here's the
special
thing.
treatment
But
There
to
is no
say, well, I got my
special
special treatment
here's the
and now
thing.
I'm the best because
No,
of the
that's
special
that.
treatment.
what I'm saying
But
is
then
there
that
is
brings
no
up the
special
question:
treatment when you are the best pilot, which means you had to do everything to become the best pilot. When even
Right.
if the president were to say
But
you are the best
females
pilot,
get to
but
do
not
less
no, let
starting
me
out.
finish it. That has nothing to do with being
It
the
does. You can't get
ability.
past that. You
No,
can't say
yes,
men
it
want this,
because
females want this, and it's okay for the females and not the males.
I'm
It should be
saying
equal down the
Exactly.
middle. It
Oh,
should be
does not matter
one standard.
if this dude
I want to touch on that.
if the dude
I
Vinny,
want
is
to
I'll wait till
wait,
you're done.
guys. I want to hear what the guitar player at the top has to say.
Yeah, he
I'm
ain't better
assuming
than
that's
60.
what that means. One guy, 6 strings, your guitar
Hi,
player.
thank you. Yes, ma'am. I appreciate you. First thing I want to say is I've got nothing but love for females and males. I think
I love
that
females.
everybody should. If I think that somebody said, I've heard somebody say, and I think this goes for a lot of things. They're not scared of our hate. They're scared of our love. And I was feeling that. I really felt that a lot. You know what I'm saying? And I just want to say that I think that there is double standards, and I think that there is things. If we look on the internet right now, you'll see all these lives talking about, does body count matter? Does body count matter? And what this is set up is it's set up. Now you have to watch out because there are immature males out there that anytime there is anything feminine, they're threatened by it and they don't know how to act because they're young. And so they bash females, they slut shame, they do stuff like that. That's unacceptable. But you have to understand and consider the source. When you're dealing with these Andrew Tate mentality people, it's like a broken clock. It's going to be right twice a day. You just have to be real careful about what time of day you're looking and making sure all your, what matters for you. But what I
Right.
want to say is standards pretty much are the same thing as preferences. In that, some people will only date unmarried women with no kids. Some women will only date men that make 100,000 plus a year. Some people will date outside of their race, outside of their gender, outside of or their the same gender, whatever it is, because that's their preference. And so when people talk about body count, and I talk about people with this, they say, yeah, but all those other things, there's a lasting effect. If you have kids, those kids last. If you have a drug problem, that drug problem lasts in the relationship. And they ask me, what is the remnants of a high body count? How can that negatively impact your relationship? And the answer is this. It's my preference if I want to be with a virgin on my wedding night. Maybe I'm a virgin, right? Or if I want to be with somebody who's a literal streetwalker, that's my preference. Do you see what I'm saying? So the idea that a man can't choose, now a woman by the same standards has 5, 6, 7, 8, 20, depending on how many she wants to have, suitors. Some of those guys are good looking. Maybe they don't have a job. Some of those guys are rich, but they're not good looking. And so it's up to her to decide which one of these men she wants to bring home to her mom and dad. Well, I got news for you. All men, if you're a fuck boy and you're trying to get a high quality woman, you're not going to be the person that she picks to bring home to mom and dad. I'm sorry to tell you that. If you're like me and got a big tat on your face and you're looking crazy and you look as old as her dad when you walk in the door, chances are she's not gonna fucking take you to the house.
Hey, look,
And
I'm sorry.
what I wanna say.
My phone's about to die. You can go ahead and finish speaking, but yeah, my phone's about to die.
Right on. No, I just wanted to say it's not a lie. Everybody has preferences and opportunities to take whoever they want home to mom and dad. If you're not the person that took home to mom and dad, maybe it's something about you.
But that's
Maybe
not
there's
the
something about
conversation.
you that ain't shit.
But that's not the
Yeah,
conversation
I
we're
like
having
that.
when it
That
comes to male
Sorry,
and
I didn't know.
female
I know
preference.
that I kind of switched gears, but when I heard you talking about double standards, I just wanted to jump in and say that. I appreciate you letting me talk.
of
Mm-hmm.
course, it
Get it
was
off
nice
your
to hear from you.
chest. Get it off your
I
chest.
appreciate everybody coming on. I'm at like 4%,
All
and I
right,
can't find my
I'm gonna
charger. But
peace
thank
out.
y'all, and
It was good to
thank
see you,
everybody for
Gen
being
X
respectful.
or Gen Z. I'm sorry. Talk to you later, Gen Z.